This intro doesn't get any easier.
No.
Welcome to Be Honest, the relatable weekly Oh wait,
No.
I went to old roots. It's not weekly.
Don't do that.
The relatable podcast where you ask questions and we discuss topics. I'm your host, Elias.
I am your co-host, Alyssa.
And it's 2025. It's a new year, and I was having a ponder last night and this morning.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking, I think I have it in my bones to do another podcast finally. And I was low-key dreading it, but
What?
Well, okay, but not the recording part, because this part's fine.
Oh, the editing.
The editing part.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it does not take that long anymore. It takes me like an hour and a half to edit a 45-minute podcast, and it's not that bad. But it's like I have to like go back and find the old files for like the thumbnail and stuff like that. I don't even know where that is. It's on my computer somewhere. But anyways, yeah, we thought we'd hop on and do a quick podcast since we both had a free Monday. Happy Monday, by the way.
This is not coming out on a Monday, though.
I can get it out today.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not busy till tonight, right?
Well, just so you can't cheat, it is January 20th, Monday. You can't release this next Monday.
Oh.
It is January 20th.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So January 20th. Happy New Year. It's 3 weeks into the new year, but still Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I had a few ideas for what we could talk about this podcast. This is episode 21, by the way, I believe. Last podcast we were doing like half celebration, half like, it doesn't really matter. Episode 20. That's what I recall.
Well, it took us like 5 years.
It took us like 5 years, yeah. So yeah, episode 21. And I had a few ideas, a few fun topics. But yeah, I think we're going to delve into some thought-provoking questions, and
Oh no.
perhaps rooted in mystery and psychology, and you'll get to find out what I mean by that.
Is this going to be one of those things where like you've been thinking about this for like the past 3 weeks, and then you ask me and you're like, you have to have an answer right now?
It's more like something you can discuss openly, and not like a question that needs an answer. Because
Okay.
I don't really. This is good. It's almost completely subjective. However, I do believe there's an objective answer.
Okay.
And I brought this up to you 3 weeks ago. You know the question.
I don't remember.
But
I remember
don't
you
remember.
saying...
And that's intentional.
I was going to ask you this... That's not fair. I remember you saying, I'm going to ask you this question, but you didn't say, in 3 weeks.
No, just next time we recorded a podcast. And then our father was like, you guys still record the podcast? And we're like, every time we release an episode, it's a shock to you.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that's like yearly. Our annual podcast.
Yeah, it's not very good. But also, I'm not sure that he knows about this new channel. I think because what we did here is we just, didn't tell anyone. We just started doing this. Intentionally.
Yeah.
But, maybe...
We don't want this to catch on.
Maybe Dad could have...
We're doing everything anti-algorithm that we could possibly do.
Yeah, once every 2 years.
We couldn't have a more unappealing thumbnail, intro, background music.
Hey, no, our
long
thumbnail
format
is pretty
video.
cool. It's just a little bright.
Well, yeah. Upload schedule doesn't help. We like... I don't know, we're like fish when like they get like
What?
frozen. In the winter, fish get frozen in the ice. It's like we come out of the ice just to smash and upload and then go back
It's like a
go back
Captain
to
America
hiding.
situation.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So my apologies for being cryptic, but that question's coming, the fun one. In the meantime, I was just going to ask you what you've been up to, and also we are going to discuss our Spotify Wrapped, which every November or December, if they were late like they were this year. It's a big deal to everyone. Everyone posted on their story, and if you know me personally, then you would have seen my story.
Yeah.
But I thought we could talk about them. It might be cool, just so you guys get an idea of what we like to listen to. So we'll do that. But I'm talking a lot. So what did you do today? What have you been doing last week?
What did I do today? It's 10:30 in the morning.
Yes.
I woke up. I actually worked out today, and that's surprising.
No, that's cap.
No, it is so real. I know. That's what I'm saying.
We're going to play volleyball tonight.
We are. I know.
I need to be careful when I say that word. That's actually, why did I even say that? It's not even funny.
Can you just insert the clip of the last time you said volleyball?
I don't know how to take clips of you. Oh, I guess I could find the clip.
You could find it. Anyways.
Or I could just do an impression.
No.
Volleyball. There
Yes.
we go.
Yeah, we are playing volleyball tonight. No, I haven't really done that much, you know. I got ready. I watched 2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. I'm out of high school now because I graduated early, so there's not much for me to do in the mornings because I don't work in the mornings. I work...
Like early afternoon.
Yeah, I work early afternoon into the night.
Right.
And so in the morning, I'm just kind of chilling. I'm tempted to sleep in, but I haven't really been doing that anymore.
It's
But I
good
think
to get your day started.
It's good to get my day
something.
started, but also I'm not gonna do it when I come home from work. So
Right.
If I need to fold my laundry or whatever. So yeah, that's what I've been doing today. In the past, I've just been working, and then we were also snowed in. The first
Oh gosh, yeah, we can
remember
talk about
that?
our crazy
That was
weather.
January, which is this month. this
It was
it was
probably
just like 2 weeks
a
ago.
couple weeks ago now. We can talk about the crazy
Yeah,
weather. I mean, it was all
we-
across the sort of the Midwest.
We were snowed in.
And completely. I mean, we probably had a full 14 inches, probably 2 feet of snow, on top of a couple inches of just completely solid, like frozen. Like we couldn't open the doors on our vehicles because they were frozen. We had to blowtorch the handles so we could open them.
Right.
And yeah, completely snowed in. We shoveled a couple 1,000 pounds of snow just to get our cars out. Probably.
I mean, I did not.
You did not participate.
I did not participate in the shoveling.
No.
But that next time that I could go to work, though, my manager did ask me to shovel, and I said, "Oh."
Well, that's karma because you didn't help.
Yeah. Well,
fine.
I didn't want to get sick.
Oh yeah, you had like
Yeah.
performance things.
I
coming
had
up and stuff.
performance things, and you just popped your elbows, and I know that they heard that.
There we go.
Yeah, I had performance things. I couldn't get sick. But I mean, we played a lot of board games. We played. Actually, no, we
Oh.
didn't. We played one board game.
Well, hold on. I just want to be totally clear here. I'm not saying let me be clear. I'm just saying I want to be clear that I did not say that the snowed in time was not enjoyable. I got 2 days off work that I did not expect to get off.
Yeah.
Businesses shut down and stuff, which, you know, for the economy maybe wasn't the best thing. But I think for a lot of people, they probably enjoyed spending some time inside with their families. And I think that was the case
And we
for
are,
us.
yeah, we are not the exception.
No, we're not an exception. We add to that statistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think we honestly played Mario Kart the most.
Yeah.
We had a friend snowed in with us as well,
Right.
so that was also fun. But so yeah, we had enough players for Mario Kart, any game that we wanted to play.
It was just there.
It was just yeah. I mean, we played Monopoly with our father,
Hmm.
and
who won?
Not I. I thought I was gonna win
Yeah,
until you decided to put hotels on half of the board.
correct.
I got away with paying you like one time, and then I just
Oh,
gave up.
really?
Yeah, I did
Oh,
because I was saving my money.
No.
But anyways, that's not the point. We also played Spoons, which is a great card game.
Great. Yeah, it's a card game. And if you're not familiar with the game, that might sound a bit odd, but
It's a card game, and it's
a card
fun. And I got out first every time.
Yep. And I also won that game.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you win 31? I won.
I never
31.
won
I won
31.
31.
No.
Anyways, so yeah, we had that at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year, which honestly
cool.
people said like all over social media, like, oh, that's a rough start to the year. But actually, it was like, this is
It was
great
fun. And
for
yeah,
me.
if you know, anything to make the year stand out, because if they all blur together, then you don't even remember who you are. like actually, if you think about it, like
You need timestamps.
yes, and like significant things that happened like on different junctions during the year, so where you can distinguish like, oh yeah, that's when this happened.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. We were snowed
just
in
the
for like
month.
3 days though.
Yeah.
And I think the last day I was just so bored. Just because,
Well, there was definitely boredom. I'll give you that.
yeah, there was
But-
boredom for sure. But I also just felt like I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I don't know. It felt weird to have 3 days not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think I actually had 4 because I had that Saturday off, the first day that we were snowed in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because I had an event that morning to go to. And so I was like literally driving back as all the weather alerts were going off, and the rain was like freezing on the windshield of a car that we thought didn't have heat, but apparently
They basically,
it does.
I mean, they shut down all of like interstate highways and things.
Yeah.
Like they were literally telling people not to be on the road. They even took like patrol officers off of the road, which I guess maybe left the door open for some crime. Except I don't know how anyone would have accomplished any crimes in that way.
I mean, I was on my way back home. I had to go to this event.
Right.
And then
No, that's
I
fine.
did go out to eat with my best friend afterwards.
That part was maybe a little bit excessive.
But we both got home okay.
Yeah.
Our cars were safe. So, yeah.
Great.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, that was our little our catch up on how the year's been going so far. Yeah, let's delve into some Spotify Wrapped. I expect that we might be the subject of much ridicule from each other and from other people, just based on how these Spotify Wraps look. I don't think we're necessarily going to like go in order. I think we'll just probably talk about some like artists and songs that stood out to us, and some things we didn't expect. I'll go ahead and start by just saying, Coldplay was my top artist, and listen,
He always is.
It always is, and it's been that way for probably since Everyday Life came out, so 5 years probably, and that's not something I'm ashamed of. Coldplay's a great band, and they have a lot of music, and a lot of different music, and they just always find their way to the top for me, so that wasn't a surprise. Something that was a surprise, and you can call me a wagon hopper. What do they call those? A bandwagon joiner?
I don't think that's...
A bandwagoneer. That's what I am.
Is that what they call that?
Not a grand wagoneer, a bandwagoneer.
Is it... Wait, hold on, I need to sneeze.
I'm not going to cut that out.
Oh, no!
Benson Boone ended up on my top 5. Not
yeah.
only on my top 5, but he was actually second for me. And I'm just going to tell you right now, okay? I wouldn't say I was a fan before his album that shook the earth came out. However, I was familiar with what made him famous, which was his American Idol audition. And actually, talking about celebrities and stuff, we'll kind of go into our little cryptic question that I have coming.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Which we'll get to after we talk about this. But, yeah, I think he has a really great voice. I like the way he writes his songs. It's very... I don't know. The content is not like a lot of other pop music, which, I don't know, I don't really enjoy. So, it was just nice to have something different. I honestly, and I hate to say this, but honestly, he's kind of like male Taylor Swift.
What?
And what I mean by that is like the way he writes his music.
No, keep that away from me. You keep that to yourself.
Well, I'm just saying, like the way he writes his lyrics, it's almost like, it's not storytelling, it's like diaristic. It's like if he was reading a page out of his diary, and that's what his music sounds like. And I think Taylor Swift is a lot like that too.
Okay.
Maybe personal opinion. I don't know. I'd Imagine Dragons too, Chris Stapleton and the Lumineers. The Lumineers, Imagine Dragons.
I honestly
no surprise,
thought you were going to
but...
say Chris Stapleton for your wagon joining career.
Oh, no, absolutely not. He's been popular for a very long time. But
I feel like I'm just hearing about him now. And also, that doesn't surprise me. Any of your artists, it does not surprise me.
Yeah. I've always been anti-country. Not anti-country because of anything about the genre I don't
Country
like.
music.
Country music. I just don't like. I just don't like how country music sounds and how they're all the same song. And you can make that argument for pop music, and that's fine. But I kind of an alternative pop anyway.
There's something to be said about like pop music just being good at what it is, and it's just like kind of dumb. But then, and I say that with so much respect, but then there's like, alternative pop music. It's different.
It's different, but which is kind of, I think that's kind of what Coldplay falls under. So that's probably why I like them so much. But yeah, Chris Stapleton was a surprise for me because I've never liked country music. But his album, the 2023 one, which I don't remember the name of now, there was like
Fake fan.
4. I think it's called Higher. I don't know.
Oh.
There's like 4 songs off that album that I really, really loved, and I listened to them all the time, and he just ended up on the top for that. So cool. But yeah, that was my top artist, and my top songs are from all those artists as well. So nothing special there. Coldplay songs, Benson Boone songs.
I
And that's
had I pretty much guessed what mine was gonna be, except for, and this throws me for a loop every time, and I'll just say I'll start by saying that Taylor Swift was my top artist. Okay, she always is. That's fine. That's
Fair.
to be expected.
Yep.
My second most listened to artist. This is the one that gets me, and this has been a theme for like the past like 3 years.
Oh, I know what this is.
The guy who wrote Pride and Prejudice, the
Yeah.
soundtrack,
Yeah.
the 2005 Pride and Prejudice soundtrack. Okay, and especially, you know, if you're a girl, you know what I'm talking about. It's just the best movie ever. And I must listen to it on a repeat. I think it's when I read that I listen to it, or sometimes if I have a bad day at work, I'll just listen to it on the drive
Oh,
home.
you listen to it while you're reading.
Yeah, because there's no words. So it's not
That's
distracting.
interesting.
So I think that's how it gets on there, especially during the summer when I read more, just because usually I have school and stuff, so
Yeah.
I don't want to read for
No.
fun. But in the summer, you know, I try to get through like a book a week, but I don't understand this. He just makes it on there every time, and I think he was like my fourth artist last year. He was
Yeah.
my second this year.
That's
And
a considerable jump, I will say.
my minutes were crazy too. I don't even remember what they were.
Yeah, you had many more minutes than I did listening. But that's because
Yeah.
I only ever listen if I'm working out or driving. And even if I do both of those things in one day, that's like an hour and a half in a day, you know?
Yeah, I had like triple anybody else that I saw.
Yeah.
And it was, I didn't think that I listened to them that much, but also here's the catch, is that my work, depending on my job for that night, and being cryptic here on purpose,
Yeah.
I can listen to music while I work
Right.
for like an hour.
Yeah.
But that adds up if you're working.
4 to 5 days a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that adds up. So I think that's partially what it is. But yeah, I mean, those are my only like mentionable top artists. But Unwritten was my top song. Which, this is a song from our childhood, I would say. Like, we listened to this song.
What made the resurgence happen?
It was a movie called Anyone But You
Oh,
that
it
I
was
did
in
go to
that
see
movie?
with our sister. It was in that movie, and it was like a big thing in that movie. Like, it didn't just play, it was like
During
part
it.
of the plot.
Okay, I understand.
And I actually really enjoyed the movie, okay? Say what you want about the acting or the script or whatever, but I think it's just one of those movies where you turn your brain off and it's a fun summer movie that you'd watch at a sleepover.
Sure.
But I did enjoy the movie, but I started listening to this song again, and it was my top song. And I you know, I'm not going to apologize for it.
It's fine. It's a personal choice.
The only other surprise that I had was, first of all, Bejeweled by Taylor Swift. That was my only Taylor Swift song in my top 5, which I think is interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. You're a top
That
artist,
was,
but not
not my top songs.
interesting.
But I think it's because I listen to the majority of her songs,
Yeah.
but I don't listen to other artists. I just listen to songs.
Right. Yeah.
This was my top song last year. And so I think that it's funny that it made its way to my top 5 this year.
Yeah, 2 years in a row was really actually surprising. I've never had that before. I will say with your soundtrack thing, in 2021, I made a soundtrack playlist, and that isn't relevant besides the fact that what it ended up doing was put Hans Zimmer on mine, which is
Oh.
a famous movie
Yeah.
score composer, on my top 5 artists for that year.
Mm-hmm.
So I made sure that never happened again because it was a little strange. But
Oh. Well, what's interesting about that, though, is that I also have a soundtrack playlist, but I choose not to listen to it. I choose to only listen to the Pride and Prejudice one,
Oh.
because my soundtrack playlist has, like, Narnia and stuff, which,
Yeah.
great music.
Yeah, love it.
But I don't want to be reading, you know, and it's, like, Emma by Jane Austen, and then it's, like, the battle song from Narnia.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not the same vibe. But,
It's fine.
but yeah, my other surprise was actually a Broadway song, but it was the movie version, which is embarrassing, from Mean Girls. It was I'd Rather Be Me, which the actor of Moana sings. I don't know why I said it like that.
Why did you say Moana?
I was trying to You can't say anything with your volleyball. Insert that clip here again.
No, I'm not.
I didn't mean to say it like
That is embarrassing for you.
that. Especially because I love that movie.
I know, I love that movie.
I've never pronounced it that way.
Moana. That's weird.
Moana sings that song, and so I thought that was funny. But yeah, other than that, those ones get mentioned. The other ones get left in the dust.
That's fine. Well, yeah, so there you have that. Our Spotify Wrapped. Not sponsored by Spotify, just by the way.
Right.
I didn't mean
because we post like once every 3 years.
Right. Well, what would they get? Nothing. Yeah, just thought to mention that. Okay. Into our cryptic. Cryptic. Is that a word? A crept is a word. Crept is like or a crypt.
It's a crypt.
Crept as like you snuck somewhere. Yeah, like you crept in.
Yes.
Or you were you creeping in? What's the past version of creep? Crep?
Well, that's how some people pronounce crepe, which is a different word.
Well, yeah.
They pronounce it crepe, which I hate, and I hate the word crepe, but that's not the point of this.
And it doesn't make you think of what it is, which is like a pancake.
No, it's like
a folded pancake.
It's like a folded like omelet vibe. It's like an egg flour tortilla.
Yeah, it's closer to pancake than egg, though.
Well, some crepes are made with eggs.
Well, I'm sure there's eggs in it.
Anyways, I think crept sounds wrong, but I feel like it is a word.
Like, I crept in. I just think you should say snuck. I snuck in.
Well, I know
Sneaked.
people that say sneaked.
I sneaked in.
Okay, I'm Googling crept.
Okay.
Past tense, crept, of creep.
Oh.
He crept down the stairs.
That sounds right. In context, that sounds right.
Yes. Crept.
Crept. Anyways, crypt was the word I was trying to say. Cryptic.
We were high school valedictorians.
Hey.
That's why we didn't win.
My cryptic question, which I shall ask now. And as soon as I ask this question, you're going to remember that I had asked you this 3 weeks ago, on Christmas Day, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
No, this was not on Christmas.
Yeah.
I remember this. This was when we were snowed in.
Oh, really? Oh, you remember?
It was the Sunday we were snowed in. I remember exactly where you were sitting. I remember where I was sitting, and I don't remember the question.
Oh, okay. Well, here it goes. And this is why I said it would tie to the celebrity conversation, because I think it pertains to that pretty specifically. But what I was thinking about was whether or not real people exist.
I do remember this, and I remember thinking, what are you talking about when you said that?
And I knew that would be your response, so let me explain what I mean by that. What I mean by that is, and this was, maybe the beginnings of this question started taking root in my brain while I was taking an interpersonal communication course. But sort of what I discovered while taking that course was that, and sort of maybe with some self-reflection, is that very rarely do people actually present themselves the way that they are. What I mean by that is if you are in a conversation with someone, if you see someone walking across the street, if, I don't know, someone is doing some activity, very rarely what you're observing of that person is either what's going on internally, like what they're thinking about, or if you're speaking to them, very rarely what you're talking about and how they're responding to you and speaking to you is actually what they're thinking. Because of that, I halfway came to the conclusion that real people don't exist. When I say real people, I mean people that are actually like
Genuine.
Exhibiting everything that's going on internally, mentally speaking.
I think. Is this where the discussion starts?
Yes.
Okay. I think that there's a difference between being like authentic and then polite, and I think the problem is that everybody, well, most people would like to be polite and nice, but nobody actually ever wants to share or talk about anything that is actually relating to them because it leaves them being vulnerable.
So you think people are like cordial and conversational, but only so far as it brings them to not be exposed.
Yeah. I think that's typically what it is, but I also think it's just people hiding.
But I'm saying even then, suppose someone is like bearing their heart before you, and you're like in a deep conversation, and it's hard and emotional for this person. Maybe they're even crying. Even then, you think that they're saying everything they think about this thing? Or like, think about an instance where you've done that. Have you said everything there was to say? Or did you confess everything you were to confess about a particular thing? You know, whatever it may be.
I think I fall into it, kind of into a different pool. Where
No, I agree. Because I usually speak without, I wouldn't say without restraint. Because I have a filter, especially when it
needs
to be, like when I'm around people that I really need to have a filter around.
Yeah.
But I will say I've never been afraid to, and still am not afraid to say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So this is not necessarily as relatable for me. But for those times that I'm not fully forthcoming about things, that was enough for me to think that other people aren't either.
Right, and I think that you fall into the pool deeper than I do, because you have definitely always been that way, whereas I've only kind of started to come out of my shell the past few years, to where I didn't even talk to people, but
It's the same for me. I just faked it though.
yeah, no, I still do that, which, you know, maybe that also is.
I don't know if that counts.
We're halfway in both pools. I don't know, but I will say my best friend. I know she's listening to this.
Hello.
Hello. She gets told everything. Like, all of my thoughts, genuinely. Like, if we're discussing something or we're talking about a subject, it doesn't mean that, like, I tell her everything just, like, throughout the entire day.
Right.
But if we're talking about something, I find myself saying this phrase.
Everything there is to say about the thing you're talking about,
Yes.
you say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I find myself saying this phrase, which is, I have to be honest because it's you.
Interesting.
And that doesn't mean that I'm not honest with other people around me. That means that sometimes I
You're more honest.
say what I know is right, but I hide the way that I feel. And I mean that in the best way, where it's just like, just because I know...
Sometimes it's not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
Or
like,
the other person, you know, they're either not going to take it well, or maybe you know that they don't care, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't... Yeah. So, but usually with her, I'm just like, yeah, and I have to be honest because it's you. And then I'll kind of go into, you know, all the details and all the, this is the why, and, well, I know I should feel this way about this, but I actually feel this way, so I'm kind of making myself feel the other way, you know?
Yeah.
Because typically I think, like, I have the answers or the solution, but I'm just not there yet. So I make myself get there, you know?
Just by use of logic.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing, and that's fine.
But I do think that you and I wonder if it's because we're introverts that now are forced to be extroverts through different things, like, you know, jobs that we've had, or...
It's like, of all the introverts, we're the extroverted ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But we also think that alone time is very valuable, which is funny because, like, you know, if you catch us in a group, like, we might be, you know, joking around and laughing.
We might be the most prominent
Yeah.
as far as, like, personality on display goes.
And that doesn't mean that that isn't fun, but it
No.
means that
But it means that
that's not how we recharge.
and that only happens for 5 minutes, you know.
Right. That's not, you know, 7 hours.
Right.
But so that might just be more relatable for us to do both. Whereas some of our siblings are extremely extroverted.
Yeah.
But they fall more on the polite side of things.
Right. I think that they wouldn't be so inclined as we are to perhaps say something real to people. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's to save face. I don't know if it's to
I just think
it's some sort of preservation thing, or if it's just a natural inclination, a tendency.
Yeah, I think that it's also, you know, where they're at, they're more just professional, and we may not feel that pressure yet.
Yeah.
And that
That's probably true.
doesn't mean that, you know, there's anything wrong with them or anything like that. But it is interesting that, you know, we are the younger ones in our family.
Right.
That the older ones, probably for even, protection of us, have that politeness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, almost to where we don't have to.
Almost to where we don't have to.
Yeah.
But you've always been like this, and I've only started to be like this. Like, I'd say more honest with other people instead of just trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody's doing something wrong.
Like trying to win affirmation.
Yeah, I'm not trying to win anybody over.
Right.
To be on my side, or, it's a weird game of tug of war. But
And no one wins.
No one wins. But I would say the past, 2 years is when I started saying that.
Yeah.
Which I think has ultimately made us better people for who we are. But also learning how to also be polite. It's not that we're rude.
No.
But
also, I don't... there's certain settings where I'm never gonna say anything related to, criticism or, even inserting an idea of mine just because it's not my place. You know what I mean?
And I think especially with you value conversation more than I would say the average person. And so despite what we talk about on this podcast most of the time, but you I think lead conversations to more meaningful subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
And I would say that I do that too, but I think that you just converse that. That's just what you always do, whereas I do it more intentionally. But I think that's just part of who you are.
You mean...
Which is not... I think that's a good thing.
You mean if you're having a meaningful conversation, it's probably something that you intended to do, and you sort of set it up for that to happen.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, some things just happen, I think, when
Obviously,
you're closer with people, but on accident, I think those happen for you. More than the average person.
Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know why. It just does. Okay, so being over half an hour in, I want to pivot on this question very slightly.
Okay.
So I think, so maybe to answer the question, maybe it's not that real people don't exist, but it's that real people only exist to certain people, and someone can be simultaneously real and fake, depending on who they're talking to. Is that a fair assessment?
I think so, but I wouldn't say... I don't know. I wouldn't say fake is the right word.
I'm just saying that's the opposite of real, is what I'm saying. So, or just non-real, I guess, which is still fake, but
right.
It's a different word.
I think when people think fake, they think
genuine.
Stabbing you in the back right after you say, your hair looks cute.
Right.
But that's not the kind of fake that we're talking about. But yes.
Just less genuine.
Yeah.
Or less inclined to be genuine. Okay, so having come up with that definition then, when do you believe, and I have a couple thoughts about this, or maybe I'll ask if it's ever appropriate then to configure/change based on the people you know / around?
I think it's about knowing your audience, what topics you're going to choose to speak about. Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, that's part of it. I just mean the way you are in general, the way you act, your, maybe the jokes you make, maybe the places you go, the things you do, maybe you wouldn't do if you weren't with certain people.
I think
I'm not talking about peer pressure, but I just mean things you're doing with people compared to things you wouldn't do with other people.
I think it's just, for me, about getting along with the people around me, especially people that you don't choose to be around, that you happen to be around.
Yeah, people you're around by circumstance, not necessarily by choice.
But I will say, I heard this story once, so I'm going to say it.
Okay.
It's very brief. This girl, when she was 12 years old, she invited all of her friends to her birthday party.
Yep.
She invited friends from soccer, from school, from every single place that she was at. But none of them knew each other. They all knew her.
Right.
And when they were all in the same room, she had a thought that was, I don't know which person I should be right now.
Right. Interesting. So...
And I think...
Which just goes to show that she sort of does change things here and there based on who she's with.
And I think, like, there are some things where, like, if you talk with someone and you agree with them, and there are just things that you guys are more similar, you know? Yeah. Whereas someone that's complete opposite of you, you're not going to talk about those same things that are going to make conversation or getting along with that person difficult. And I'm not saying that you should avoid certain things, but I'm thinking that you should try to get along with everyone if you know that what you're talking about is only going to lead to, like, a bad outcome.
Right. So, I think I sort of agree with you here. Like, I don't know if you use, like, some type of public school example, like, maybe you're trying to fit in more or something. Maybe just to be more agreeable with others, you sort of change the way you talk. Or maybe you're a really loud, rambunctious family who talks really loudly and stuff, but you dial that back when you're at school, just so you're not bothering other people, those are the sort of things where I'm like, if you're not changing morally what you are or what you do, I think that's probably okay and maybe even advisable, right? I mean,
I would say, yeah, in certain situations, but I think it is what you said, it's dialing it back. It's not changing who you are, but it's...
Or maybe you turn other things up, too.
Right. So, if there's a bunch of introverts in a room, I find myself doing this. I did this all growing up, and nobody's talking to each other, but they all want friends. You're going to be that person to go and introduce yourselves.
Right, you have to. If nothing's happening, someone has to take control, yeah.
Right. So, I think it's more about being brave in those situations, and then also being brave to realize that, maybe you don't have to be the center of attention.
Right.
That's not where, any kind of value comes from. So I think it's just more about dialing it back or toning.
Well, I think where I get off the train, and something like your example where you're going up and introducing yourself, that's obviously something that was thought about and is intentional.
Yeah.
But I like, this is obviously very, like, ambiguous and not, we don't have any like specific example to point to, but like half of what we're talking about, half of little changes here and there, maybe it's even something as small as an inflection or the words you're using to sound smarter around somebody. Maybe if you're speaking to your boss as compared to your coworker, obviously that dialogue is going to look different. I would argue that a lot of the time that's not thought out, and it's almost instinctual.
Yeah.
I think that's just kind of like built in. Like, we just know how to, I wouldn't even say appease, but I think it's just like being agreeable and like getting along with people.
Yeah.
Probably.
Which I think for the most part, in the way that at least I've seen it done with the people around me, and I think even what I do is okay. I think it's almost good. But I think the problem is when you just are a completely different person. Like, if my best friend knows that my favorite color is yellow, and then I tell someone that it's, purple, that's weird. Don't do that.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and you're going to have some problems later down the road, perhaps, about being... Yeah, I agree with that. I had something else to say, but then I forgot.
Oh, okay.
About this same topic, and I was going to say something about...
But, I mean, I think that we even did it growing up. Like, our father, it was very important to him that we were well-educated or even, like, spoke well.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say educated as much as just, like, being just generally...
Functioning human beings.
And intelligent, yes.
But I think it was more emphasized...
But I wouldn't even say...
...than maybe the average household.
Yes, but I wouldn't say that it was necessarily a want of his. Like, it was very, like... There wasn't any part of me that was like, oh, I wish I didn't have to be this way.
No.
Like,
I don't even think we were aware of it.
No, I don't think so either.
It was just, the way that he spoke to us, like we were actually humans and not little kids.
Right, and that affected the way other people spoke to us too, and how other people saw us, like other adults in our lives and things that aren't related to us.
Right.
Have always been, I wouldn't say praising, but at least acknowledging of the fact that we're, I don't know, at least able to speak to adults and not be strange about it.
Right. And I think but I had an example of this, which, we kind of joke about. But our dad used to make us say equitous instead of that's not fair.
Right.
That's not equitous. And I have distinct memories of, being 5 years old and running around saying, that's not equitous.
Right. And people don't know what that
means.
means.
And the 18-year-olds around me were like, what are
does
you
that
talking
mean?
about?
Yeah.
And that isn't to say that other people are dumb or, like, unintelligent.
No.
But it was just...
And honestly, for that example specifically, was that just to, like, make us sound different or just not be a whiny kid?
Well, so I actually asked about this.
I've never heard a kid say that's not fair and not thought, man, they were just whiny. Like, have you ever thought that? I've never
Well, I mean, I don't know. But I asked him, and he said, if my kids are going to complain, they're going to sound smart while they do it. So...
It gives us a little more favor, perhaps, in whoever's deciding whatever
Maybe.
we're complaining about.
They're like, man, that kid knows the word equitous. Let's give him the apple juice. It's like,
Yeah.
but
Okay, last thing related
Okay.
to this is, as we were talking about if people are real or not, it made me think about specific friends of mine and
interesting.
and how I act around them, and whether or not they act differently with me as compared to someone else.
Mm.
And an example I'll use is one friend of mine is, I wouldn't say away. He's still in the same state for school, for college, but I wonder if he acts differently there than how he does around me when he comes back and visits, or for holidays, weddings, birthday parties, whatever. And whether or not I know the answer to that doesn't matter, and what the answer is doesn't matter because I don't really care how they act. But it did cause me to think about if I'm the same around other people, or if, like, other people, like, if you were to say you know me and here are all these traits that I know of you, and someone else was to do the same thing, I wonder what differences would appear on paper. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's
it's a little bit of introspection here.
well, but it's not to say that it's worrisome, or
Right.
that there would be any differences, or that if the differences were there, that they would be wrong.
Yeah.
It was just something I was considering as I was watching people and thinking about people, and I was like, do these people really exist? Like, are they here for...
And of course that would be a thought that you would have.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, whether or not they exist, like, physically is not the question. Obviously,
Right.
they're there. But I'm just saying how everyone is presenting themselves, I believe, in some way, to be inaccurate in some way, shape, or form. But
I agree.
anyways, that's all I have to say on that. And there you go. That's
There you
a
go.
20-minute conversation on whether or not people exist.
Is that going to be the title of this?
Do real people exist?
Yeah,
Probably.
I could see
It's,
that.
it's not clickbait, though.
No,
it's
it's
genuine.
not.
It's real.
I mean, it's verbal clickbait. Is that a thing?
Verbal? No. It's words. It's written.
It's when you said this question to me the very first time, I did not know what you meant, and I thought you were asking about
You
celebrities.
you thought I was clickbaiting you?
Yeah, I thought you were clickbaiting me in person.
Okay, well, as far as celebrities go, that's one area where I believe they are allowed to be and probably should be different
Yeah.
as public figures, just because, like, it's so hard
an extent.
Yeah, it's so hard anyway to hide, like, anything personal, like, about your life,
Yeah.
who you're with, what your family looks like, where you live, even.
And also, especially if we don't, necessarily wear our heart on our sleeve, and, like, if we're crying and upset one day, we're not going to be crying in a Walmart,
Right.
That's not
It shouldn't
hiding
be-
who you are. It's just...
No, it shouldn't be any different for them just because they're more people
Famous.
know who they are. Like
Yeah.
that, I believe that's strange, and that's a weird social construct that has become normalized.
Yeah.
But,
Anyways, that is about time
yeah,
for the podcast.
I think we're like 44 minutes, so we can end it there. Anything else to speak about?
Not really. See you next year, Spotify Wrapped.
Oh.
See you Pride and Prejudice soundtrack guy next year.
Yeah, probably.
And you will be seeing Coldplay for sure.
Coldplay at least. Everything else could be shaken up. I have a new one. I sense it's going to be on there. And
I have a.
I'll have to wait till next year.
We'll see.
Stay tuned. 11 months from now.
Next year.
Okay. Well, we never had an outro. So, I guess I'll just stop the recording. Yeah, this is great.